Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
On this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, cattle industry convention attendees talk about the weather in their areas of the country, plus ensuring cattle get the mineral nutrition they need to stay healthy.
And now, NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman with host Kevin Oxner.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. I'm Kevin Oxner. Thanks for joining us. Topping this week's cattle industry news, experts say some parts of the United States will get much needed rain this year. According to CattleFax projections, various regions will return to normal precipitation patterns during the upcoming spring and summer growing seasons. If this happens, experts predict U.S. farmers will plant a record number of corn and soybean acres, which will lead to lower feed grain prices for cattlemen. This is welcome news to producers across the country, as a severe drought has affected more than 70% of the cattle producing regions across the United States. So how will this affect cattle prices moving forward? We have more in this week's Market Watch.
Market Watch.
And joining me in the studio is Todd Klaus, market analyst for CattleFax. Welcome back to the show, Todd.
Great to be here, Kevin.
Based on the January report, this cow herd has now declined 15 of the last 17 years. What's in store for 2013 in terms of expansion or contraction of this U.S. cow herd?
You bet, Kevin. In terms of that, when you look at the beef cow herd, we know it was down 900,000 cows nearly on January 1. When you looked at, we know that some regions of the country, though, producers are trying to expand. If you looked at the North Plains and the Northwest specifically, their cow herd and their replacement numbers were actually bigger on January 1. At the same time, we know that beef cow slaughter was down nearly 500 million cows last year. We know that the beef replacement number has been up the last 2 years, in each of the last 2 years. So those factors tell us there are some producers trying to expand. Now, obviously, the biggest wild card is still weather. We think we're going to get some more normal temperatures and more normal precipitation for some of the regions of the country. And if that happens, we still think beef cow slaughter will be down another 500,000 cows this year. And at the same time, we think replacement numbers should continue to rise as well. And if those factors happen, if those things do happen, we do think that the cow slaughter, beef cow slaughter specifically, will be down another 500,000 head this year, and the cow herd should stabilize by next year.
Okay. And so based on that stabilization, what is that going to mean in terms of total beef production?
You bet, Kevin. So we're talking a smaller cow herd. We know that we still had a smaller calf crop last year and the year before that. So we still have beef production decline another 600 million pounds this year. I think when you look at trade, you bring in imports, exports, we talk about population continuing to rise. So our per capita net beef supply, we still have that to decline over 1 pound per person, close to 56 pounds per person for 2013. So from a supply standpoint, still supportive to prices, to higher prices. But when you bring in the other side of the equation, we bring in demand. We're not as optimistic about demand for a few reasons. One big reason will be incomes. We think consumer incomes are going to be down this year. When you look at taxes continuing to rise, healthcare costs continuing to go up, consumers are just going to have less money to spend in total. At the same time, when you look at our competing meat situation, pork and poultry, looks like their production numbers are going to be bigger this year, which we know that means they'll be very price competitive with beef, which will probably put more pressure on beef demand as well.
So when you factor in all these supply and demand variables, put you on the spot, what are your thoughts relative to cattle prices in 2013?
You bet, Kevin. So for 2013, even though we're a little softer on our outlook for beef demand, we do think that because of the supply decline that prices are still going to average higher for the year. We do think that fed cattle prices should average between 126 to 128. We think the lows for the year will probably be between 115 to 116. The high is probably next fall near 135 to 136. I think if you looked at our feeder cattle outlook, specifically a 750-pound steer, we think they're going to average around $1.55. The low is probably the low 140s, the highs in the mid to upper 160s. You still have a relatively tight feeder cattle supply, still have plenty of excess feeding capacity out there, and you still have premiums in the deferred live cattle futures. So all these factors should continue to be supportive of this higher feeder cattle outlook. And if you look at calf prices, say 550-pound steer prices, we think they're going to average close to $1.75, which is about $8 better than last year as well. So if you look at the entire industry, if you look at from pasture to plate, the cow-calf producer is still in the driver's seat in terms of profitability.
Very good. Well, certainly a lot of this hinges on weather, so we'll see kind of how the year plays. Thanks so much for coming back to the show.
Thanks for having me, Kevin.
For more information and market analysis, just log on to CattleFacts.com. Now, if there's one thing that affects every single cattleman, it's definitely the weather. Whether you're getting too much moisture or not enough, it can present many different challenges for operations across the country. We recently had a chance to ask a few cattlemen and women about the weather in their area.
2012 was the worst grass year I'd ever had in my life in our area. And, you know, you can kind of prepare and do things and plan ahead for a year and kind of sneak your way through one year. But if we have a back-to-back drought like we had last year, there's going to be people with no water, no grass, and ultimately no cattle. And that's just not good for anybody. We need to be growing our numbers, not dispersing our cow herds. So big thing for us would be moisture.
2012 was the worst drought that we've experienced for well over 125 years. It's the worst that we've seen. Luckily, we had steps in place so that we didn't have to liquidate any herds. We still had the opportunity for a ranch expansion this last year in terms of land. But it's going to be a tough one.
Oh, it's so dry. We did get some rain a couple weeks ago. My dad called me. He was very excited about that. But we are so dry, and we're hoping to get more rain.
We were fortunate to get some very beneficial rains last week. We got about 5 inches on my place, which helped to get the ponds back in shape. But I'm afraid the forecast is a little bleak for the summer. The map I saw showed my state, Missouri, cut right down the middle. Western side, severe drought. Eastern side, moderate to severe drought. So I think we've got at least one more year in this 3-year cycle of having to deal with it.
Our weather has been pretty nice in South Carolina. Of course, we're always blessed with pretty warm temps, but we've been dry for 2 summers in a row, and we've seen a lot of improvement in that. In 2012, we had a pretty good summer, and we've had adequate moisture in our part of the country going into 2013. So far, so good, so it's hard to predict, but hopefully it'll stay that way.
Well, the summer of 2012 was real dry, although we had enough spring on my part of the country to raise a little bit of grass. Since then, it's been dry. The winter's been dry. It's been actually good for a cow-calf man that can run his cows out, which I've been able to do. But I've told a lot of people I've been enjoying the winter, but I don't know when to stop enjoying and start worrying for 2013.
We may not be able to control the weather, but there are many issues that cattlemen face each and every day that can be addressed. Become a member of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association and join the fight to protect our way of life. Joining is easy. Just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or send us an email at c2c@beef.org. Now, if you join right now, you can get a 100 milliliter bottle of Dectomax injectable from Zoetis. And if you join NCBA as well as your state association, you'll get a 200 milliliter bottle. Again, the number to call is 1-866-USA-BEEF, or you can email us at c2c@beef.org. Ahead on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
I really truly believe that the mineral has made the difference.
How Purina Animal Nutrition is ensuring cattle get all the minerals they need for a healthy start. Plus, how beef cattle producers can prevent internal parasites from stealing their profits. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're watching NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman on RFD TV. Tough trailers built for tough country. Big Ben Trailers manufactures a different kind of trailer, one that's built to put up with the rough conditions found on the ranch. Rugged build using heavy-gauge powder-coated steel and a 2x4 rectangle tube frame. There's a 1-inch gap between the side and floor, so there's no place for water or manure to accumulate and rust. Big Ben trailers are loaded with standard features: a lever-action hitch, a 3-foot escape gate, and a middle sorting gate, rhino lining along the front edges, and a receiver hitch to tow another trailer, chute, or other equipment. Tough and practical. That's Big Ben Trailers, designed and built by a working cattleman. You can rely on and trust Big Ben Trailers for their durability and convenient features. Reasonably priced for any rancher to afford. For a list of dealers and other design features, visit BigBenTrailers.com. Big Ben Trailers, built cattlemen tough.
Grow more low-cost forage and improve grazing access by clearing out weeds and brush with these Dow AgroSciences herbicides. See your Dow AgroSciences representative or visit rangeandpasture.com.
Welcome back. The beef industry is very competitive. To succeed today and maintain strong profit potential tomorrow, you need to make sure your cattle are getting consistent mineral intake. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Brian Baxter has more on why it's important to feed your cattle well-balanced mineral supplements.
Minerals make up a small portion of an animal's diet. However, they play a big role in health, growth, and reproduction.
If we aren't on a proper mineral nutrition program, we're leaving things behind, because minerals is one of the most important products that we need to have in a cow's nutritional program, but sometimes we always aren't utilizing the correct nutrition program or mineral program to make the cow to be its most efficient.
It's usually one of the first things that we see people cut in times of high input costs and things like that, when it really should be a time that they should be focusing even stronger on a mineral program.
Dave and Chad Reek are the co-owners of Reek and Lentz Show Cattle in Creston, Iowa, and they know firsthand the value of proper mineral nutrition. Recently, Dave and Chad made the switch to Purina Wind and Rain minerals. Wind and Rain is specifically designed to meet mineral deficiencies based on forage quality and cattle nutritional requirements throughout the year.
We tried different products, different companies, and a lot of the times we ended up, we'd go to the pasture not seeing the cows eating mineral. Since we did change to the Purina Wind and Rain minerals, the tubs, we've noticed that the cows like it. We can definitely tell that they're eating it, and obviously we can tell from our conception rates AI that they are eating it. It is helping them. The first thing that we saw from an AI standpoint is we had about a 15% increase in conception rates on our AI. So obviously we attribute a lot of that to the mineral, but not only the mineral, the rest of the Purina products we use as well.
Mineral is probably one of the most important things that you can do for or with your animals. For the first time in my career, I feel like my cows are actually getting all the mineral and all the trace mineral that they should be getting. And we only had it for about 6 months before we calved last year, and we could see an improvement in just the vigor of the baby calves and their ability to fight off stress and illness.
Buying poor quality minerals to save money can result in fewer calves, lower weaning weights, or other metabolic problems. Purina Wind and Rain minerals are uniquely developed to provide wind resistance, water resistance, consistent consumption, as well as fly control. Plus, the minerals are available in a variety of delivery options to suit the needs of every producer.
Now, when I talk about the different options, we usually have granular or tub. Now, I'm not saying that producers need to be on one or the other. We utilize them a lot of times in programs that when the combine is starting in the fall or the tractor and the planter in the spring, that we will bring tubs into the place so they're not having to worry about putting mineral out to cattle during other farming operations, and then we can go back to a loose mineral program during the other parts of the year when there's less need of that producer in the tractor or the combine.
We'll have more from Iowa when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
No storm is too powerful for new Purina Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, formulated with ultimate weather resistance. That means more minerals in the feeder and available to your cattle. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals provide more consistent intake and balanced mineral nutrition to optimize herd health and breedback rates. See the difference at your local Purina dealer or visit cattlenutrition.com. Wind and Rain Storm Minerals, another way Purina is building better cattle.
There's an easier way to help protect your horse from West Nile virus. West Nile Innovator. No other vaccine has helped protect more horses. Talk to your veterinarian today.
It's deer season savings time. Just in time to get you ready for hay season. With 0% financing on John Deere mower conditioners, balers, and select hay tools. Plus, get 0% financing on all John Deere utility tractors up to 140 horsepower. It's the season for savings on hay tools and tractors. Deer season. Be sure to stop by today.
Welcome back. Let's return to reporter Brian Baxter, who's learning more about the benefits of a mineral nutrition program.
Purina offers their loose mineral products in several different formulations in order to meet any producer's forage situation. This includes Wind and Rain Storm, which features the ultimate in weather resistance. That means more mineral in the feeder and more mineral available to your cattle.
The new Storm formula and demonstrations and research have showed that we have less degradation and more weather resistant or shed of water in the product, and with the wind standpoint, we're not having it blown away as we're dumping it in, because that mineral is slightly heavier and will go on into the feeder.
And some other questions I get is if it's so weather resistant, is it available when it gets into the animal system? And yes, it is. That's been researched and proven. And when it hits that animal's rumen, everything is digested and full nutrient release is available.
Wind and Rain is also available in a cooked molasses tub. This weather-resistant free choice tub helps to reduce producer costs associated with labor and equipment.
Oh, the tubs are simple. You throw them in the pickup, go to the pasture, unload them, and the cattle are good. And the good news is the cattle like it. They consume it at the rate that they're supposed to.
The tubs are so convenient. Basically, we throw them in the back of the pickup, drive out to the cows, dump them out, and depending on the number of cows that are in that particular pasture, they'll last for an extended period of time. They're a solid product. They'll lick it and get what they need daily as they need it, and you never have any problem.
Purina is the industry leader in cattle research, and the staff at their 1,200-acre facility in Gray Summit, Missouri, works hard every day to better understand the nutritional requirements of beef cattle. That way, Purina can develop products and programs to fit your cattle and forage situations. Visitors to Gray Summit have witnessed these efforts firsthand.
Every feed company says they have research, and they can quote this state university and that state university, but when you go to the farm, you actually see it live, hands-on, explained by somebody who knows what they're talking about, and it really hits home, because this is your livelihood. This is what you're trying to do. This is how you're trying to make a buck.
Those things meant a lot to me, to know that there's an operation, that a company that is actually wanting to try those products out on their own stuff before they try and sell it to us as producers. I look at Purina and their representatives as people that truly care about your product and your operation.
We're extremely confident that our products and programs will bring benefits to those other producers, and I'm very adamant as not only a producer, consumer, customer of our products, that when I take something to the field, to those customers, that I can stand there toe to toe and tell them that these products are tried, tested, and I use them myself.
Consistent mineral intake is as vital to cattle as grass, water, or air, and Purina offers high-quality products that provide the mineral nutrition cattle need to succeed.
When you take a look at your mineral cost towards the total scheme of your operation, your cattle operation, your farming operation, it's a very minute cost for the return on investment you get on that cow.
I'm kind of the old dog. I probably should have come out of Missouri, because you have to show me. Well, they did. I really truly believe that the mineral has made the difference.
Reporting from Creston, Iowa, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
You can learn more about all of Purina's products, including Wind and Rain minerals, at www.cattlenutrition.com, or of course, cattlemantocattleman.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Ever wonder where the beef checkoff dollar goes and what it buys? The Federation of State Beef Councils is made up of the 45 qualified state beef councils that collect the $1 per head beef checkoff. Each council keeps control of 50 cents and sends 50 cents to the Cattlemen's Beef Board for use in national beef checkoff programs. Many states also choose to send a portion of their share to the Federation to expand national and international efforts. As a division of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, the Federation of State Beef Councils works to support an effective state and national partnership, helping to increase beef demand through research, promotion, and education. Because producers themselves direct these programs, your beef checkoff dollars are in good hands. Learn more about the Federation of State Beef Councils by visiting beefusa.org.
Many cattlemen discover their passion for the beef industry early in life. Successful cattlemen quickly learn that passion alone isn't enough. It needs to be combined with good information, innovative business models, and a continuous focus on the end product. Wolf Cattle in Morris, Minnesota has transformed their passion for cattle into a beef production system that extends from breeding to feeding. Cattleman to Cattleman reporter Sharon Alseth has more.
I was kind of born with a love for cattle. I was drawn to the beef cattle side of the operation. I was happiest when I was out either in a feed yard or in a pasture with cows, taking care of cattle.
Jerry Wolf has been part of the cattle industry his entire life. His father, the late Leonard Wolf, purchased a couple of cows and got started in the beef business back in 1949. Today, Wolf Cattle has grown into an integrated seed stock, stocker, and cattle feeding operation spanning 3 states.
300 miles west of here in McLaughlin, South Dakota, we have a 25,000-acre stocker ranch. We put about 5,000 yearlings out each summer on grass. We also have a 11,000 head background yard there called Wolf Cattle Depot. And then in Bassett and Atkinson, Nebraska, we have 17,000 head of feed yard space and cropland down there.
Jerry continually challenges the Wolf team to look for new opportunities to deliver value to customers and grow their operation. While they spend a lot of time collecting information and utilizing technology to improve their Limousin, Limflex, and Angus genetics, they say they are first and foremost cattle feeders.
Our father said that for many years. We were cattle feeders for about 2 decades before we were cattle breeders. So it's our cattle feeding experience that led us then into the genetics and crossing Angus cattle with Limousin. We were impressed with the feed efficiency we picked up and the red meat yield. So as you in the business to convert grass or grain to beef, we wanted to be involved in the genetic component that helped make that whole system more efficient and then a more consistent high quality product on the other end.
If you do breeding without feeding, you don't necessarily get the true results of what you're breeding for. If you feed the cattle out and see how the cattle perform, you can then therefore take that data and compare it to what you're actually breeding. So if you have cattle that look good on the genetic side but they don't perform in the feedlot, we're not enhancing the beef industry, and that is our ultimate goal, is to help get beef produced economically.
We know every portion of the chain in depth. We know the genetics, and we know how our cattle start. We know the ranchers that our bulls go out to and the kind of cows they have and their management practices. We know how the calves are fed, how they're raised. We have relationships with the packer, and we work with them to get our cattle marketed to the market that best fits them.
Jerry says collecting and analyzing all of this information and being involved in each segment of cattle production is what makes Wolf Cattle unique and ensures their customers are getting the information and service they need to make the best possible management and marketing decisions.
We're not just in the genetics component, but we're in the cattle feeding part of it, and also in the stocker operation. So we buy 500-pound calves and sell 12 to 1,400-pound fed cattle. So just being a beef company that goes from genetics all the way to value-added fed cattle makes us unique. You know, there's a lot of genetic companies, and there's a lot of cattle feeding companies, stocker operations, but very few that tie the whole thing together. Our ranchers that buy bulls from us, they're buying into a program, you know, so they're interested in their end product. We're very big on sharing information. We get carcass data back on all the cattle we feed. We take the closeouts on the cattle that come through the feed yard. We funnel that information back to the ranch. So our clients are interested in being part of an entire beef production system and also buy into the value-added model.
The Wolf family is always looking for more ways to enhance their customer service. Their bull retirement program is just one example of the value-added opportunities they offer customers.
Customer service is the cup of coffee when they walk in the door, but it's a whole lot more. It's looking for ways for them to add value to what they have to sell. And one of the things they have to sell are their cull bulls. And we're pretty fortunate here in Minnesota to live pretty close to a bull processing facility and have a good relationship with American Foods. And we work together with them and they purchase the bulls. And we're able to provide the rancher a premium to cash in his bull to buy a new one on the sale next spring.
Wolf Cattle has also found their way into the dairy business with some very forward thinking.
In our own commercial dairy, we run half Jersey cows, half Holstein cows. That milk all goes for cheese production. Those Jersey cows we are now crossing with Limousine. We're breeding half the herd to sex semen to get our replacement females, and then taking the other half and crossing with Limousine, and finding that in terms of feed efficiency and a good quality, high quality carcass, we can produce a very nice beef animal out of Jersey cows. So we're now taking that concept to the dairy industry and are selling semen across the United States and Canada.
The hours are long and the work is hard, but just like the hundreds of thousands of beef producers across the country, the Wolf family wouldn't choose any other way of life.
One thing that we learn here from the time we're really little is if you want something, you have to work for it. And hard work is very rewarding. We've been so blessed here, and it's our job to take care of it. And if we take care of it, it will take care of us.
I've always enjoyed working with cattle, and I just feel it's a noble cause to be raising that high quality product like beef. I know there's a lot of happy, satisfied consumers out there enjoying their hamburger and enjoying their steak because we're out here producing it for them.
Reporting from Minnesota, I'm Sharon Alseth for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
To join Jerry, Mike, Rhonda, and the rest of the Wolf team as members of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, just give us a call at 1-866-USA-BEEF or email us at c2c@beef.org. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hi there, I'm Joey.
And I'm Rory, and welcome to our farm outside Nashville, Tennessee. When we go to work, whether it's on tour or here at home, we wear the West.
That's right. Whether it's that perfect snap shirt or that perfect pair of boots, when you wear Roper, you wear the West.
Learn more about us, Joey and Rory, and about Roper Western Wear at eroper.com.
Telling the truth and being real and feeding my family a home-cooked meal, that's important to me. That's important to me. And planting the garden and watching it grow.
To stay up to date on beef industry news and the National Cattlemen's Beef Association, check out beefusa.org. You'll find news on both the Federation of State Beef Councils and the work of NCBA on Capitol Hill. Plus, link to NCBA programs like The Blog, Beltway Beef, updates on the Cattle Industry Convention and NCBA Trade Show, and the latest from NCBA's Cattlemen to Cattlemen. Connect today at beefusa.org.
Welcome back. In 2009, the USDA National Animal Health Monitoring Survey found internal parasite resistance to a popular class of cattle dewormer in 7 different U.S. states and suspected resistance in 8 others. In March of 2012, the FDA Center for Veterinary Medicine held a public forum to address the growing concerns of internal parasite resistance to popular cattle dewormers. To learn more about internal parasite resistance, why it's important, and how producers can manage this growing problem, we caught up with our friends at Merck Animal Health to talk about effective parasite control strategies for cattle producers.
Cattlemen know that effective internal parasite control is the cornerstone of every animal health program. Using the right product at the right time is critical for maximum production.
Parasite control is so important to cattlemen because parasites do 3 things to animals. They decrease the feed intake, decrease average daily gain, and they affect the immune system. This can amount to about $190 over the lifetime of that animal. The other thing is they affect every segment of the cattle production system, whether it's the cow-calf guy, the stocker guy, or the feedlot guy. These animals have to deal with these parasites in every part of the production cycle.
Eldon Fry is the owner of a custom preconditioning operation near Quitman, Arkansas. Eldon says the key to his business is getting cattle healthy and ready for their next home.
We've been preconditioning cattle since 1999. Before that, we were a cow-calf operation for about 15 years prior to that. Spring of 99, we converted over, sold the cows, and became preconditioning lot. We get in anywhere from 7 to 10,000 a year. We keep cattle 45 to 60 days normally. Do all of our vaccinations, dehorning, castrate bulls, ID. Get the cattle healthy and ready to go west, either to grass or to the feedlot directly, depending on the size of cattle we get in.
Fry says being in the cattle business is a way of life that suits him.
I'm in the cattle business because it's a way of life that I really enjoy. It's something I've been doing for 30 years. And then from the dairy business to be in the beginning to the stocker, to a beef cow operation. We had registered cows. Our son got into showing cattle. It's a perfect place to raise your kids. It's just a way of life that I really love. I like to take care of the animals. We really enjoy doing it.
For Eldon Fry, controlling internal parasites is an important factor in the entire animal health process.
Internal parasite control is important because these cattle are stressed. When we get cattle in on initial working, we're using Safeguard wormer along with our vaccines. We use a 5-way IBR BVD. We use a pastorilla with black-legged cattle, and like I said, we use Safeguard. So we're going to vaccinate them with a 5-way. You sure want it to work. You're spending the money on the vaccine and you want that calf to do it. So worming him on the first day and cleaning him out with Safeguard seems to me like works faster and gets that calf to where his immune system can be able to work and help that calf.
Dr. Newcomb describes the science that links internal parasite control with a properly working immune system.
What we know is that when you deworm an animal, then you're getting rid of the worms, and what we've seen is that the excretions and secretions of the worm are what's causing an altered immune response. So an animal that's heavily parasitized may not be able to respond properly to viral vaccine or viral disease. But when you kill that worm, then in about a 14-day period, the body is able to reset itself and respond properly with a proper immune response to your viral vaccine.
Eldon Fry definitely sees the effect.
I'll definitely see a difference after worming. And worming cattle and getting them parasite-free sure helps the vaccines work a lot better, I think. You get your immune system up.
Optimal internal parasite control has become more difficult as resistance to a popular class of cattle dewormer available in pour-on and injectable forms has been documented and identified in many states.
Deworming protocols have changed in recent years because of resistance, okay? When we think about what's gone on, say, over the last 40 years in the cattle business with dewormers, in the 1970s, it was the brown stomach worm, okay? Ostratasia was the biggest, the baddest worm on the block. But when the avermectins or the ivermectin compounds came onto the scene, that parasite was basically handled. But over the years, what we've seen, especially with the advent of the pour-on dewormers and then the generic dewormers, we've seen those products kind of used and abused somewhat. And that's led us down the path of resistance because these products are being used at times of year when they don't need to be used, and they're used for fly control when they're actually dewormers. So what's gone on through the years, we've had this selection process, especially in the South, for a worm called Coperia.
We'll have more about effective parasite control strategies when we return. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Respiratory disease is a significant animal health issue in the beef industry. It costs producers nearly $1 billion in lost profits each year, and it's the most prevalent disease in calves older than 30 days. So why not prevent respiratory disease before it steals from your bottom line? Vista Once protects your calves with the most complete respiratory disease coverage available, and Vision Blackleg vaccines can add 14 pounds per calf at weaning. For further information, contact your local veterinarian or animal health supplier. Celebrate the heart of America at the 2013 National Ag Day. It's March 19th in our nation's capital. The event honors America's agricultural community and its contributions to our country and our world.
So it's appropriate and absolutely necessary that we take, not just today, not just this week, but every day and every week, to thank American farmers, ranchers, and producers.
Generations nurturing generations. To learn more, visit agday.org.
It's the official monthly publication of the National Cattlemen's Beef Association. The National Cattleman is produced exclusively for NCBA members and includes coverage of the news and events affecting our industry. From Capitol Hill to the far side of cattle country, the National Cattleman provides information NCBA members need. Every issue includes market analysis, feature stories, and practical management tips. Start receiving your copy of The National Cattleman. Call 866-USA-BEEF or go online to beefusa.org and join today.
Dr. Harold Newcomb of Merck Animal Health explains how producers can deworm their pasture with strategically timed pasture cattle treatments.
What you're trying to accomplish with a strategic deworming program is to actually deworm the pasture. And what you want to do is reduce the parasite burden on the pasture. And if you're in the deep south and you're a cow-calf producer, you can do this by deworming the cattle 6 to 8 weeks after grass puts out, and then do it again with one of the non-handling forms about 6 to 8 weeks later. If you're a stocker guy, it's day 0, 28, and 56. At day 0, you use the combination. 28 and 56 days, you use one of the non-handling forms. The nice thing about Safeguard is we have a form that will work in just about any producer's operation. The benefits from doing this, if you're a cow-calf guy, come in the form of increased conception rates, greater weaning weights. If you're a stocker guy, it's actually about a 30 to 40 pound advantage over a grazing season.
If you have questions about strategic timing for pasture deworming with Safeguard, contact your local veterinarian, animal health provider, or your local Merck Animal Health representative.
Welcome back. Let's return to reporter Brian Baxter, who's learning more about strategic deworming strategies for cattle producers.
Dr. Newcomb says Coperia resistance to avermectin-class dewormers was first documented by the U.S. Department of Agriculture on an operation in Wisconsin with cattle purchased from the southeastern U.S.
One of the first cases of parasite resistance recognized in the United States was up in Wisconsin, which would seem kind of odd. But what the guy in Wisconsin was a stocker guy. And what he did was he bought cattle in the south. They were overwintered in the south, and then they were moved up north to Wisconsin. But while they were in the south, basically they were dewormed pretty regularly, about like every 60 to 90 days with some form of pour-on dewormer. So when those cattle traveled up north, they carried every parasite that was in them or left over from those dewormings up to Wisconsin. And what the guy in Wisconsin had actually found was that his production level was going down. And then he contacted USDA. They got involved. They did fecal samples. They harvested some cattle, looked at the worms, and they found the predominant worm in those cattle was Copiria.
Newcomb says new research sponsored by Merck Animal Health confirms that these ivermectin-resistant Copiria can have a significant impact on cattle performance.
Back in the dark ages when I was in school, Copiria was thought not to be a problem at all, but we've done some recent research where we've seen that that particular parasite, especially like an operation like that Eldon has, it can cost you up to a quarter of a pound a day in gain and up to 1.5 pounds a day in dry matter intake.
Newcomb states research shows that once resistance develops to a class of dewormer, parasite resistance occurs with every product and form of that class of dewormer.
Once the worm gets resistant to one of those classes of dewormers, it's going to be resistance to everything in there. And, you know, recently there's been a lot of hype that it was generic versus name brand. That it really doesn't matter. That once they get in resistance, they've got resistance to everything in that particular class of dewormer, whether it's brand X or brand Y, whether it's generic or trade name, they're going to see the same thing. The parasites will be resistant.
Dr. Newcomb says as important as an effective deworming is to the performance of cattle, cattlemen need to know their dewormer is effective.
Well, producers need to make sure whatever dewormer they're using is effective. And what they can do is take fecal samples on the day that they deworm, and then again 14 days later. What you want to see is about a 90% reduction in that egg count. If you don't get a 90% reduction in egg count or greater, then you've not had a successful deworming. And you need to go back and ask yourself a few questions. Number one, was the product administered correctly? Was it administered at the correct dose? If those two can be answered yes, then you need to start thinking about you might have a resistance problem and contact your veterinarian or parasitologist for help.
To prevent resistant parasites from multiplying and spreading to an operation, Dr. Newcomb says producers can use different classes of dewormers concurrently to minimize and manage parasite resistance.
Well, producers need to do to manage the parasite burden is basically clean the cattle out. Like if you're a stocker operator, you want to make sure that you kill all the worms in that animal as it comes into your operation, so you're not carrying resistant worms or distant population of worms onto your property. The best way to do that is to use like Safeguard, because Safeguard kills within 24 hours. The other thing you want to do too is to add that in combination with one of the macrocytic lactones, one of the ivermectin type compounds, because when you do that, you're getting the best of both worlds and you're protecting each compound from resistance developing.
Dr. Newcomb says the strategy of concurrent deworming with two different classes of compounds was developed, tested, and proven in Australia.
The modeling to show that the combinations work, that work actually started in Australia. What their model showed was that by putting the products in combination and using them at the appropriate time, you could actually extend the life of these products for several years. The other thing that they found, and the model did predict this, is that the amount of resistance or the number of resistant worms would go down by using the combination products. And over several years, that seems to have been proven out that the model was correct.
Newcomb says the concurrent deworming strategy has also proven to be a worthwhile investment in trials in the U.S. feedlot industry.
On the 4 feedlot trials that we've done and are published, what we found was that there was about a 10-to-1 return on your investment by using the combination of a macrocytic lactone or ivermectin with Safeguard, okay? And that was 4 or 5 years ago when cattle prices were much less than what they are today.
Newcomb says cattlemen can see the benefits when they use this deworming strategy in their operations.
Well, 3 things to remember about strategic deworming is, number 1, it reduces parasite burden on the pasture. Number 2, it will improve the health of the cattle. But number 3, and probably most importantly, it will put more money in your pocket.
Eldon Fry agrees.
The one thing I want cattlemen to know about using a deworming product is that they will see results. They'll see weight gain, they'll see the cattle perform better, the product will pay for itself.
Reporting from Quitman, Arkansas, I'm Brian Baxter for NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman.
With cattle values near record levels, a successful deworming program is more critical to cattlemen now than ever before. Merck Animal Health encourages you to work with your local veterinarian, parasitologist, or animal health provider to develop an effective deworming strategy. If you'd like more information, visit safeguardcattle.com. And we'll be right back.
Let's face it, you don't think a lot about your trailer hitch. You use it and forget it. We understand. But at B&W, we think about it. Short nights, the long hauls, never-ending chores, the unthinkable. We think about it all, so you don't have to. B&W. Trusted.
Lots of cowmen put a little extra into their calves, hoping it'll bring them another nickel at the sale, like preconditioning, early weaning, or for specialty markets. But how can the buyer trust your claim? Old vaccine bottles or your ratty tally book? Truth is, this little green ear tag will be all you need. That's what IMI Global does, third-party verification. The seal of approval, like the nutrition label on your Twinkie. Did I say Twinkie? IMIGlobal.com. People who work with livestock have a common bond. I feel like you could take a Carolina farmer or a California rancher and put them in with a Zulu tribesman or a Latvian reindeer herder, and it wouldn't take long for them to be useful. We'd know where to stand, how to herd them, and when to be quiet and when to be quick. But how do we describe this ability? What is it that makes certain people good with livestock? Animal science professors do a good job trying to translate what we do into words, but in the end, it's a much deeper concept. It's an understanding that somehow allows us to communicate with the animals God gave us dominion over in the first chapter of the Bible. The animals define us. A cowboy is the way he is because he works with stock. He's learned it's best to ease along, to find the rhythm in their song, and not to fret if days are long, because cows don't punch a clock. The job ain't done until it's done. That's life down on the farm. To gather those who tend to stray, to treat the sick on Christmas Day, and if she needs your help, to stay until she's safe from harm. You see, you can't just quit a cow. Sometimes you're all she's got. No reinforcements in the hall, no 911 to hear her call. Just you. Just you. Nobody else, that's all, to get her through the spot. His calling is as old as time. It is, will be, and was. Through blizzards, bogs, and barbed wire fence, he stands against the pestilence, and though he feigns indifference, he's proud of what he does, done without a second thought by those who tend the flock. It's what I do, you'll hear him say, with no demand for higher pay. And I believe we are that way because we work with stock. This is Baxter Black, stockman from out there.
Thanks, Baxter, for putting our thoughts and feelings into words. This week's special legacy photos feature a look at the 2013 Cattle Industry Annual Convention and NCBA Trade Show in Tampa, Florida. Let's have a look. To submit pictures of your farm or ranch and possibly see them on a future episode, just visit our website at cattleman2cattleman.org. Next week on NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman, a look at bovine respiratory disease and how producers can spare the economic loss that comes with an outbreak. Plus, a new beef product called Schmaken, and this week's news and market headlines. And of course, a new story from our friend Baxter Black. Well, that does it for this week's edition of NCBA's Cattleman to Cattleman. We'll see you right back here next week on RFD TV.